Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Chem here. Today in this explainer, we're diving into the cinematic molecular mysteries of edible oils to uncover exactly how we measure their unsaturation. If you've ever wondered what truly separates a stable, solid fat from a highly reactive liquid oil, well, you're in the right place. Today we're looking way past the macroscopic properties and zooming right down to the glowing, microscopic bonds that literally define our food.
Here is our agenda for today. First, understanding iodine value. Second, the WISE method chemistry. Third, laboratory setup and safety. Fourth, our step-by-step titration. Fifth, calculating and interpreting data. And finally, troubleshooting and impact.
Let's jump right into Section 1, Understanding Iodine Value.
So what exactly is the iodine value, or IV? Put simply, it's a completely critical quality control parameter. It acts as a direct, quantifiable measure of the degree of unsaturation in our sample. When we say an oil is unsaturated, we mean it's got carbon-carbon double bonds hiding in its structure. By measuring exactly how many grams of iodine are absorbed by 100 grams of our oil, we can effectively count those invisible double bonds. And why does that actually matter? Well, saturated fats contain only single sigma bonds. Their electrons are locked in super tight between carbon nuclei, which makes them structurally stable and solid at room temperature. But unsaturated fats, they contain pi bonds from those carbon-carbon double bonds. The electrons in these pi orbitals are diffuse, they're highly polarizable. This makes unsaturated oils far more reactive both chemically and optically.
Moving right along to Section 2, the WISE method, chemistry.
So the underlying chemistry is clear, but how do we actually count these microscopic, highly reactive double bonds when we're standing at the lab bench? We use a brilliant chemical mechanism known as the WISE method. Instead of pure iodine, we introduce an excess of WISE solution, which is actually iodine monochloride, to our oil. The iodine monochloride aggressively attacks and adds itself across every single carbon-carbon double bond it can find. It's an incredibly efficient halogenation process.
Next up, Section 3, Laboratory Setup and Safety.
Before we start the reaction, we have to talk safety because analytical chemistry is serious business. The ISO 3961 standard strictly warns that our WISE reagent is highly corrosive and toxic. You absolutely must gear up with proper gloves, safety goggles, and a lab coat. And most importantly, you have to execute this entire procedure inside a well-ventilated fume hood to protect yourself from any harmful vapors.
Okay, let's gather our essential reagents and apparatus. You're going to need your oil sample, an analytical balance, and your standardized WISE solution. To make sure our oil dissolves completely, we use a solvent, typically an equal mix of cyclohexane and glacial acetic acid, though, some older protocols might use chloroform. We also need potassium iodide, 0.1 normal sodium thiosulfate as our titrant, and a freshly prepared 1% starch indicator, all alongside our trusty Erlenmeyer flasks and volumetric pipettes.
All right, Section 4, Step-by-step titration. Let's get to the bench work. We start the prep phase by accurately weighing out about 0.25 grams of our oil using an analytical balance. Once we've got that weighed, we dissolve it completely in 20 milliliters of our cyclohexane solvent. Next, we add an exact, known excess, 25 milliliters of the WISE solution. Finally, stopper the flask immediately and stash it in a dark room for exactly 30 minutes. That darkness is absolutely crucial here. It stops light from degrading the sensitive halogenation reaction while the iodine monochloride goes to work attacking those double bonds.
After the 30-minute dark incubation, the reaction is complete. Now we add 20 milliliters of potassium iodide. This step is vital because it converts any unreacted iodine monochloride into free, titratable iodine. We add some deionized water and start titrating with our standard sodium thiosulfate solution. As the iodine is neutralized, the dark color slowly fades to a pale yellow. Right then, we add our starch indicator. It binds to the remaining iodine, creating this striking deep blue color. We just keep titrating drop by drop until that blue completely disappears. Bam! That is our exact endpoint.
Now, while we can totally observe that stunning color change manually, modern analytical laboratories often use automatic titrators. These devices flawlessly track the sharp, sudden voltage drop on a potentiometric curve, giving us an incredibly precise, mathematically determined endpoint, the exact millisecond the last drop of free iodine is neutralized.
Which brings us to Section 5, Calculating and Interpreting Data.
With our titration complete, it's time to crunch the numbers. The crucial formula is this. The iodine value equals the blank volume minus the sample volume multiplied by the normality of the thiosulfate multiplied by 12.69, all divided by the sample weight. Wait, what's the blank? Well, a blank determination is a test run at the exact same time using all the reagents, just without the oil. By subtracting the sample's titration volume from the blanks, we figure out the exact amount of excess iodine that was absorbed by the double bonds. It really is a beautiful piece of mathematical chemistry.
When we look at typical data, we can instantly classify an unknown oil. A low iodine value, between 6 and 11, points to a highly saturated, incredibly stable fat like coconut oil. A medium score, around 85, that reveals a monounsaturated fat like olive oil. But a massive score, say over 170, tells us we have a highly reactive polyunsaturated substance like linseed oil, which is so prone to oxidation it's actually used as a drying oil in paints.
And finally, Section 6, Troubleshooting and Impact.
What happens when the experiment doesn't go exactly as planned? A super common mystery at the lab bench is the phantom return of the blue color. You hit your endpoint, the solution is perfectly clear, you turn around to jot down your data, and suddenly the flask is turning blue again. What on earth happened?
The culprit here is atmospheric oxidation. If you're titrating too slowly, oxygen in the ambient air can actually oxidize the iodide ions right back into iodine. When that fresh iodine hits the starch still lingering in the flask, the blue color's back. The solution? Titrate promptly, decisively, and ensure you're mixing thoroughly on a magnetic stir.
Another deeply frustrating issue for chemists is a mushy, diffuse endpoint. Instead of a sharp transition from blue to clear with a single drop, the color just kind of fades gradually, leaving you totally guessing where the true endpoint actually is.
This almost always happens because of premature starch addition. If you add the starch indicator too early, while the iodine concentration is still really high, the starch traps the iodine in this highly stable, stubborn complex that dissociates super slowly. Remember the golden rule. You absolutely must wait until the titrant has turned the solution a pale straw yellow before adding those crucial drops of starch. Mastering this rigorous technique is vital. In the food industry, the iodine value directly predicts an oil's shelf life and thermal stability. In energy, it dictates the viability of biodiesel fuels. And fascinatingly, in food security, we use it to detect fraudulent adulteration. By cross-referencing an oil's iodine value with its optical refractive index using advanced regression formulas, analysts can instantly spot if cheap oils have been illegally mixed into premium products.
We've gone from the macro down to the molecular, exploring how the elegant, fundamental chemistry of the WISE method provides essential data about the quality and industrial suitability of our fats and oils. So I leave you with this thought. If a simple titration can perfectly map the hidden molecular identity of an oil, what other microscopic chemical signatures are sitting in your kitchen right now, just waiting to be decoded? Keep asking questions, keep experimenting, and I'll see you in the next explainer.